Hello, and welcome to Slow English Stories. This is the place where storytelling meets language learning. If you want to improve your pronunciation, expand your vocabulary, and build your confidence in speaking, you are in the right place. Today's episode is an extended special. We believe that by listening to a long, engaging narrative, you can truly immerse yourself in the rhythm of the English language. So, find a quiet place, get comfortable, and let's get started. The story. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special extended Slow English Stories video. This video is designed to help you significantly improve your speaking skills. I will tell you a beautiful, detailed story sentence by sentence. Just like before, please pause the video after each sentence and repeat after me. Today, I am going to tell you a long and heartwarming story. It is about a young girl named Emma who is trying to find her way in a big city. She loses her most valuable possession on the subway. Through her journey to find it, she meets several wonderful people who change her life. In the end, she finds not only her phone, but also a sense of community and true friendship. Let's begin the story. My name is Emma Johnson, and this is the story of how a single lost phone changed my entire world. It is a story about the worst morning of my life, which somehow transformed into the best day I have ever had. I am currently a college student, and I moved to New York City 2 years ago to follow my dreams. I study fine arts at a large university in Manhattan. Every single morning, I take the crowded subway to get to my classes on time. That particular Tuesday morning started just like any other stressful day. I woke up 20 minutes late because my alarm did not go off. I quickly grabbed my backpack, threw on my favorite denim jacket, and ran as fast as I could to the nearest subway station. The platform was packed with people in suits and students with heavy bags. The train was extremely crowded, and the air was hot and humid. I managed to find a very small space to stand near the sliding doors. People pushed me from all sides as the train screeched through the dark tunnels. I didn't mind the crowd because I was listening to my favorite music. My phone was tucked safely in my right jacket pocket. At least, that is where I always kept it. When the train finally stopped at my station, I had to push through a wall of people to exit. I walked quickly up the long concrete stairs and out into the bright morning sunlight. As I reached the corner of the street, I reached into my pocket to check the time. My heart skipped a beat when I realized my pocket was completely empty. I checked my other pocket, then my backpack, but my phone was nowhere to be found. My heart stopped, and I felt a wave of cold panic wash over me. My phone was gone, and with it all of my precious memories. All my photos from the last year, my family's contact numbers, and my class schedule were on that device. I turned around and ran back down into the depths of the subway station. I reached the platform just in time to see the tail of my train disappearing into the tunnel. I felt like crying, but I knew I had to act fast. I approached the station worker in the small glass booth and asked for help. "I'm so sorry, miss," he said with a sympathetic look. "Lost phones are incredibly hard to find in a city this big. You can try the Central Lost and Found office, but don't get your hopes up." I felt absolutely terrible and walked away feeling defeated. How could I have been so careless and distracted? However, as I stood there, I decided that I would not give up so easily. I told myself, I will find my phone somehow, no matter what it takes. First, I traveled across the city to the official Lost and Found office. A kind old woman with silver hair and glasses worked there behind a tall counter. She spent 20 minutes looking through large boxes of lost items for me. "I'm afraid there are no phones matching that description today, dear," she said gently, "but please check back tomorrow, as people often bring things in later." I spent the next hour walking around the subway station, asking everyone I could find if they had seen a silver phone. Nobody had seen anything. Then a new idea popped into my head. Maybe a kind person found my phone and was waiting for me to call it. I needed to find a way to call my own number, but I didn't have a phone. I looked across the street and saw a small, cozy coffee shop. I walked inside, smelling the aroma of fresh roasted beans. I approached the man behind the counter and asked if I could use his phone for a moment. "Sure thing, you look like you're having a rough morning," said the man. His name was Carlos, and he had owned this shop for over 20 years. He asked me what had happened, and I told him the whole story about the subway and my lost photos. He listened very carefully, nodding his head as I spoke. "You know what?" Carlos said with a bright smile. "My nephew works in the tech department for the subway system. Maybe he can help you track it down." Carlos immediately picked up his phone and called his nephew, whose name was Alex. Alex was a technician who worked in the central control room. To my surprise, Alex agreed to meet me at the coffee shop right after his shift ended. For the first time that day, I felt a small spark of hope in my chest. That evening, Alex arrived at the shop and greeted me warmly. He was about my age, with very friendly eyes and a smile that made me feel safe. "Carlos told me all about your situation," Alex said as we sat down. "I work in the subway control room where we monitor the subway security cameras. We have cameras on almost every platform and inside many of the newer trains." My heart jumped with excitement. "Can you actually check the recordings from this morning?" I asked breathlessly. "I can certainly try, but I will need every specific detail you can remember." I told him everything I could, the exact train number, the time I boarded, the station where I got off, and even what I was wearing. "Come with me," Alex said, standing up. "I think I can show you something." We walked back to the station, and Alex took me through a heavy steel door marked "Staff Only." We walked down a series of long, brightly lit hallways. "This is where we watch over the entire city's transit. Our job is to keep people safe and help when things go wrong." The control room was absolutely amazing to see. There were dozens of massive screens covering the walls, showing live feeds from every corner of the subway. Alex sat down at a computer and began searching through the camera recordings from earlier that morning. We watched the screen with intense focus as the footage played back. Finally, Alex found the right train at the exact time I had mentioned. "Is that you standing near the door?" Alex asked, pointing to a girl on the screen. "Yes, that is me," I shouted, leaning closer to the monitor. We watched as the train arrived at my station and the doors opened. The scene was chaotic and very crowded. Then we saw something very interesting happen. A tall man in a dark blue jacket was standing right behind me. As the crowd pushed forward, he accidentally bumped into my shoulder. We saw a small silver object slide out of my jacket pocket and fall toward the floor. "There, stop the video," I cried. My phone had fallen out of my pocket just as I stepped onto the platform. Then the camera showed a teenage girl in a green backpack picking up the phone. She looked around, trying to find who dropped it, but I was already gone. The girl didn't put it in her pocket to steal it. Instead, she took a piece of paper from her bag and began writing something. She used a piece of tape to stick the note high up on the subway wall. "Can you zoom in on that note, Alex?" I asked. Alex used the computer to make the image much larger and clearer. The note read, "Found phone. Owner, please come to the big fountain in Central Park tomorrow at 3 p.m. I will wait there for you. Sarah." I couldn't believe my eyes. "What a smart and incredibly kind girl," I said, feeling a huge weight lift off my shoulders. Alex looked at his watch and saw that it was already late in the evening. The note might be gone by now, I worried out loud. What if someone else took it down? Alex shook his head. "Let's go check the platform right now," he suggested. We ran down to the platform and looked at the spot on the wall. The wall was completely empty. My heart sunk again. "Someone must have torn it down," I said sadly. But Alex had another brilliant idea. "Let's go back and check the cameras from this afternoon," he said. "Maybe she came back." We returned to the control room and fast-forwarded the footage. "Look right there," Alex pointed. The girl, Sarah, had returned to the platform 2 hours later. She saw her first note was gone, and she looked very sad. Then she took out a much larger piece of paper and wrote a new note. She walked over to the official station notice board and pinned it right in the center. "She put it on the notice board," I said, feeling relieved. We ran back to the platform one more time. There it was, a bright white paper with clear, bold writing. It had the same message: "Found phone, Central Park, 3 p.m. by the fountain, Sarah." Now I knew exactly where to go and who to look for. The next afternoon, Alex met me at the coffee shop again. Carlos gave us both free coffees and wished us the best of luck. "Are you feeling nervous?" Alex asked as we walked toward the park. "A little bit," I admitted. "What if she changed her mind and doesn't show up?" Alex patted my shoulder. "She won't. She worked far too hard to make sure you found those notes. She'll be there." We arrived at the edge of Central Park at 2:45 p.m. The big fountain was easy to find because of all the tourists taking pictures. At exactly 3 p.m., I saw a young girl with a green backpack walking toward the water. She sat down on a wooden bench and took a deep breath. Then she pulled my phone out of her bag and held it up so that anyone passing by could see it. I walked up to her with Alex standing right beside me. "Excuse me," I said softly. "Are you Sarah? I think you might have found something that belongs to me." Her eyes grew wide with surprise. "Yes, I am Sarah. Is this really your phone?" "Yes, that is definitely mine," I said, my voice shaking with happiness. "Thank you so much for being so honest and for keeping it safe." Sarah smiled brightly. "I put up 2 different notes because I wanted to make sure you saw them," she explained. Alex then told her the whole story. He explained how we had watched her on the subway cameras and how we saw her return to the station to post the second note. Sarah looked completely shocked. "You saw me on the cameras?" she asked. We all laughed as I explained the entire journey: losing the phone, meeting Carlos, meeting Alex, and the high-tech search in the control room. "You were so smart to leave those notes," I told her. "Thank you for not giving up on me." Sarah shook her head and said, "You don't need to thank me at all. I was just happy to help. I wanted to do something kind for a stranger." As we sat by the fountain, I noticed Sarah was carrying a sketchbook in her bag. "Do you like art?" I asked her. Sarah blushed and said, "I love to draw more than anything, but I'm not very good yet. I want to learn, but I don't know where to start." I smiled and told her, "Everyone has to start somewhere. I actually go to the city art school. Would you like me to teach you some techniques?" Sarah's entire face lit up. "Really? You would do that for me?" "Of course I would," I replied. "You saved my phone and all my memories. It's the least I can do." Alex then spoke up and asked, "Sarah, do you happen to like music as well?" Sarah nodded eagerly. "I love music. I've been trying to learn how to play the guitar for a year now." Alex laughed. "I'm actually a musician in my spare time. Maybe we can all get together and be friends." 2 days ago, I thought losing my phone was the end of the world. I felt terrible, lonely, and hopeless. But today, I realized that losing that phone was the best thing that ever happened to me. "Why would you say that?" Sarah asked with a curious look. "Because if I hadn't lost it, I never would have met Carlos, I never would have met Alex, and I never would have found a friend like you," I said. In that moment, I realized I had found something much more valuable than a piece of technology. I had found friendship and perhaps even love. Alex took my hand as we walked through the park, and I felt like the luckiest girl in New York City. Sarah laughed and told me she was excited for her first art lesson. We sat together on the grass and watched the sun set over the city skyline. My phone was safe in my pocket, but my heart was full of joy. Sometimes, when you lose something small, you end up finding something much, much better. I truly hope you enjoyed this extended story. Remember to practice your English by listening to these sentences and repeating them out loud. Consistent practice will make your speaking clear, natural, and confident. I look forward to seeing you again in our next Slow English Stories video.